In this episode, we explore the beautiful city of Antigua and join Ted and Gail for another excellent adventure. The city of Antigua was founded in the early 16th century in an earthquake-prone region and was demolished and rebuilt 3 times before it was largely destroyed by the Santa Marta earthquake in 1773. After the earthquake, many of the residents left to live in Guatemala City, and the government ordered the relocation of the capital there as well. Before the capital was moved, Antigua was the cultural, economic, religious, political, and educational center for the entire region. In the space of under 3 centuries, the city, which was built on a grid pattern inspired by the Italian Renaissance, acquired a number of superb monuments for which it was awarded the coveted UNESCO World Heritage Site designation. All right, hello everyone.
Hey guys.
We are excited to talk to you about our time in Antigua, Guatemala. It is an amazing place, and I was actually there 20 years ago for my friend Brenda's wedding, and it was the most beautiful location to have a wedding. Believe it or not, we lost touch over the past 15-20 years, but we were able to reconnect, and amazingly, she was in from the UK, and I was there, and we were able to meet up again at the place where she was married at Santo Domingo Hotel, which was incredible. So definitely a highlight of the trip. But I loved Antigua so much that I was excited for Brown to get to see it. And in our previous video, you saw why we chose the time that we were there, which was to attend the Sampango Kite Festival. So now we're gonna just talk about Antigua. But first, if you like videos like this, please subscribe, hit the like button, comment, share with your friends. We really appreciate it. And we also want to say a huge thank you to our patrons who support us both with finances and with their encouragement. We want to say thank you to you guys. Without further ado, let's jump into this video on Antigua.
Antigua is the jewel of Guatemala because it's like a tropical city with a European climate. I'm looking at this place and thinking, wow, this would be a great place to retire. It's like a living history museum. It has avoided all the trappings of modern technology and architecture.
It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Oh, for a reason. All these things that we're talking about.
They've really done a great job to preserve the city, which is amazing in and of itself because it's been destroyed by floods, by fires, and by several earthquakes. The city is actually surrounded by 3 incredibly beautiful volcanoes. The water volcano, or Agua, Fuego, which is the fire volcano, and then a Catalina, which is the one volcano that everyone goes to Antigua to actually climb. And you can see these all from the city of Antigua.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful, stunning scenery.
So despite all of this natural abuse that's been laid on the people from Antigua, people just keep coming back for more. It's just a very special place. You need to go to Guatemala, and this is one of the main reasons.
We did a walking tour and learned all about the architecture of Antigua, and it's a Spanish Baroque architecture, specially adapted for the Antigua area because of the earthquakes. So the archways, instead of being...
Are you saying they ran out of money while they were building? They were broke?
Oh, goodness. The archways were specifically lowered so that they were more earthquake resistant. So you can see that in the different churches and cathedrals that are located in Antigua. Many of them have been destroyed and rebuilt according to the specifications of their original structure and have been really well preserved. Another unique feature of Antigua is that it's set on a grid.
Perpendicular streets in a form of a square. More space, more illumination, more lighting. This is an Italian architecture treatise, but was used here in Latin America. Look at this. This is Antigua from the sky.
I don't think there's any other city in Guatemala that has that grid.
That makes it very European.
Also back then, they would have chariots, and around the corner of the buildings...
It's a canted corner.
And the reason they did that was because if the horses took a sharp turn, the chariot would actually break down the corner of the building. So they reinforced it so that there was less damage done to the building. One of the most famous sites in Antigua, the one that if you see it, you know you're in Antigua, is the Santa Catalina Arch. And this arch was built in the 17th century. It's really beautiful, and actually, I think the best view is getting to see the water volcano behind it.
It was a hidden bridge, hidden passage.
The arch was built from the convent to the school because they wanted the nuns to be able to walk across the street without actually having to leave the protection of the building. So they would just cross the arch to go from one building to the next.
Antigua's flag is green because of the avocados, because people from Antigua have a nickname. They are called, or they are nicknamed, green stomach, green belly. We say panzas verdes. We are panzas verdes here because we have so many avocados here.
Wow.
Yeah, people, we are so proud of that.
They actually developed the avocado.
And not just any avocado, the Haas. You all know you love it. It's not that bigger tropical one, but the Haas is always the go-to.
And I think they actually were under siege at one point, and the avocados were what saved their lives.
Oh, and let's don't leave out another favorite. Okay, avocado's right up there. You can put it on anything. But what's the other favorite?
Chocolate!
Woohoo! Chocolate! Let's lift it up!
Chocolate was actually discovered by the Mayans.
And it was used as an energy source for warriors. So warriors were very highly esteemed in society there. And if you were a warrior, and I think I'm a lover, not a fighter, but if I was given the choice of drinking free chocolate, I might fight. And the chocolate that they drank was without milk because they didn't have cows, and it had cinnamon in it and also a little bit of cayenne pepper. So that's what they drank.
It was delicious.
And it was water-based. It was really, really good.
And we learned all about this at our chocolate tour, which I think we're gonna have to make a separate video. It's really fascinating. A lot of things that we thought about chocolate were erroneous, and we learned a great amount about...
A lot of chemistry, origin, culture, and how to make it. We actually made our own chocolate and roasted the beans and everything.
And that's just one example of the many activities that you can participate in Antigua. Literally, you just walk down the street. You don't even have to have a plan for the day. You walk and just get lost in the city, and then you find these special things. I remember when I was there 20 years ago, we also walked up to the cross. It's actually called the Hill of the Cross, and we were able to do that a couple of times. It's great exercise, and the view of the water volcano and also the city is pretty spectacular up there, albeit it was under construction when we were there. One of the things I loved about walking around Antigua was just discovering ruins. And so many of those venues are used for weddings, and many were decorated while we were there or in the process of being decorated. Wow, it is spectacular.
We recommend that you do a tour. It's well worth the money. I think we did one where you give a tip, and it was pretty cheap. The tour guide was very knowledgeable. It took about 3 hours. That's good to lay a good foundation. And then just walking around and discovering, it's not an enormous place, but it's not small either. You can spend days discovering and hiking around and looking past the walls into the doors to these courtyards and gardens, which is very European. And just seeing what's hidden behind there. There's Starbucks. It has to be the most beautiful Starbucks in the world. And also McDonald's. McDonald's is there, but you can't tell. They don't have like signs out front.
Or the typical colors.
Yeah.
Of those.
They may have some lettering or whatever. And you almost have to look it up under Google Maps to be able to find it. But there's like Wendy's and all these fast food places. Burger King. But they're all hidden. The city really does a great job of preserving the beauty and not making the city commercial, which makes you think that you are living in that time in the 1600s, the 1700s, because really nothing's changed. Oh, and I wanted to mention too how beautiful the Central Park was and the incredible fountains. that are there. Again, that's another thing that you see in European town architecture, and it's just not to be missed. Also, Antigua is very safe. There's lots of police and military presence. They don't want any funny business there, so it's very well protected.
Also, at night, things really come alive. Oftentimes you don't even know things are happening when you're inside your compound, but if you step out the door, then all of a sudden all of these things happen, like church processions. We did get to see one night that was pretty amazing.
And it's just spontaneous, and you just listen out and just join up and just take it all in.
It was endless, the amount of things you could do.
It's got it all.
So ordinarily from Antigua, it would take an hour and a half to 2 hours to get back to Guatemala City. Then from Guatemala City, we get on a bus that would take anywhere from 6 to 7 hours. The worst, friends have been on the bus for 24 hours to get back to the Rio Dulce. So you basically are spending an entire day traveling. Well, this time was extremely special because we got back to Rio Dulce in about 3 hours.
Thank you, Ted and Gail.
Our friends Ted and Gail, the same ones that we took the private flight with to the Bahamas, they have a new plane and they flew that up to Guatemala City, and then they invited us to fly back to the Rio Dulce with them. Wow. Time to leave this beautiful city.
I don't want to leave. Yes, we need to leave.
Hola, Irma. Gracias.
Adelante.
Gracias. We've just taken an hour and a half trip from Antigua. We've just arrived at the airport. And now we've got to figure out the flight plan. Driving up to the side of the airplane.
Yeah.
We're not used to that kind of ease and convenience.
Here we are in Guatemala City at the airport. They use the same airport for the commercial planes as well as the private planes. And we are going to the Rio. And here is our plane. It is a Beechcraft Baron, twin engine, just ready and roaring. Don't you wish we could take the bus instead, though? We also have a weather system that's forming. It's a tropical storm. It's going. It's a hurricane.
Hurricane Lisa.
Hurricane Lisa, but it's not going to slow us down, and it's moving up toward Belize, thankfully, which is giving us a window to be able to fly the plane and not be obstructed by the hurricane.
What you have, you just put on the plane and you go. That was super exciting. And to fly in their new aircraft was very cool too.
And this aircraft, it's a Baron twin engine. I believe it's a Cessna. And the great thing about this is you have two engines on it. If something goes wrong, you don't have any really good alternate places to land your plane. How's everybody doing back there? Good?
But if I want to be on a moving vehicle or vessel, Ted is the one I want being the pilot because I trust him completely. He's got a command over comm and over mechanics like no one we've ever met before. We flew over Lake Isabel.
Yeah.
And we also did a flyover of the orphanage, Casa
Yeah.
Agua Azul. And it's really special to get to see the Castillo and the bridge and our boat, and then land at this airstrip just on the side of the river was amazing.
Video of you getting a video of me.
Well, that was
Good
amazing.
Traffic jam. I mean, we got the
Happens every time.
Buzz the orphanage and the
Right.
mission house.
And the mission house.
Scare the heck out of a bunch of people.
The views were amazing.
Now, do you approve of the new plane?
Oh, the new plane is awesome.
So, Cat and Ted,
Yes,
that was the sequel for you, flying with
Excellent.
Blown Away.
it was awesome. Super smooth flight. We went from the Caribbean islands of the Bahamas.
Yeah.
And we tried a little mountain flying of
I know,
Guatemala.
which was just absolutely beautiful, as interesting as flying over the Bahamas. And we really appreciate, again, you taking us along, and what a treat.
Yeah, well, it's a treat having you guys
Oh, it's a
hanging
blessing.
out. It's been good.
We love the new plane, Ted.
I do too.
It's so good. And the extra safety factor flying over the mountains and
Yeah, leaving that city. Do you see how dense it is?
yeah.
It's always like a nightmare to think about losing an
Oh, I
engine
know.
around there.
I know,
Just-
because it's lights out, you
Yeah.
know.
yeah, there is just no open space at all.
This is such a cool perspective, flying into Rio Dulce into the private airport and then bringing the tractor with all of our stuff down this road. And then there are no real roads connecting marinas and even the airport because most of it's swampland. So here we are getting on a lancha to take them back to Nanawana, and then we're gonna head back to Catamaran Island, and we're back to our home. We're all blown away.
Blown away by blown away.
Blown away with blown away.
So cars, planes, tractors, and
Yeah,
launches to get
launches.
back to our marina. Could not believe how quickly we left at, I don't know, 8:30 or 9, and we were back at Catamaran Marina before noon. It was crazy. So we hope you enjoyed this video. We're coming to the end of our time in Guatemala. This is one of our final videos here, and we hope you'll stay tuned for next week when we start to make our journey out of Guatemala towards Utila, Honduras. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. See you next week.
Love you guys.